Hey guys, welcome back to Simple Balanced Astrology. And I know I've been on quite the hiatus here. Took some time off to sort of deal with some personal matters, but now I'm back. I've also taken the liberty to create a newsletter for you guys in terms of astrological updates, specifically geared towards relationships. Which I'll put the link in the description box below if you're interested. And today, well, we're going to continue on with the aspects, specifically moon with the sun. Okay, I know I've kind of behind on some other house overlays, but I'll get there. And yeah, I think we can start. Sun to moon aspects. So, what is the sun? Sun is ruler of the sign of Leo in the fifth house, defining your ego, your personality, really who you are, and your creative ability. The moon rules the fourth house and the sign of Cancer, okay, defining your emotions, your private self, and understanding your inner sense of security. Um, so here in the conjunction, the Sun Moon conjunction, it's definitely one of the most common marriage aspects I've seen, and definitely a very powerful connection. Uh, More so uh, with the moon, how should I say, the moon person being the woman and the sun person being the man. Because usually moon person plays a more supportive role to the sun person. And the sun, of course, is the vitality, the one leading the relationship usually. For the moon, they may take a more submissive role in that way. And of course, regarding these roles, it depends on how comfortable the individual wants to be submissive or wants to play the leading role as the son. In society today, in a more traditional sense, if a man plays a more supportive role, being the moon person, then he may feel sort of out of place in society. Although less common now than before, but it still exists here. Being more passive and whatnot, the person may feel uncomfortable in the man may feel more uncomfortable in being moody and a bit too sympathetic or dependent if they're in these roles. So that's why usually sun is usually the more masculine role and the moon is more feminine role here. But at the end of the day, it depends on the individual. If they're feeling comfortable leading. I mean, nowadays, a lot of women are leading their relationships, so it's really more on the individual basis rather than societal. Even though there is still that norm going on. So in terms of the sextile, the trine between the sun and the moon, usually with these easy aspects. There's a sense of natural chemistry in terms of easily getting along. Okay, the cooperation's easy. The only real problem with this is that it may be too too complacent. Okay, the moon naturally understands the sun understands the moon, and just very easy where it may not lead to any sort of excitement, which is actually fine. You could find these passion, excitement aspects in the rest of the synastry chart analysis. Okay, and assuming that these um, aspects, these passion aspects, I would say, are not detrimental to the sustainability of the relationship. Okay. Other than that, I think still the trine here and the sextiles here is still a good aspect to have in terms of two individuals being able to sort of rely and depend on each other. Okay. Which, those individuals who want a long-term relationship will want to, would appreciate. So yeah. So for the squares are, always the more difficult aspects to handle, of course. But nonetheless, squares do have that attraction, initial attraction. You meet someone that's different from you. Okay. There's a lot of tension. Tension can create some sort of spark. Okay. So here, initially, there is an attraction, but eventually, moon person will find the sun person a bit overbearing. I mean, they could be a bit too rational, too self-involved, thinking about themselves too much. Can be a bit insensitive in that way. Even though the sun person is actually not known for those qualities. Because here the square is really about the perception of one another. That they don't really see eye to eye. They perceive each other as something else, as something different than what they already know. And then the sun here may believe that moon person's too emotional, too dependent, too sensitive. They perceive each other in ways that they don't understand, and they think it's a negative thing. So that's why the squares are usually harder to handle in the long run when they start to face these sort of roadblocks. Because when they try to work with each other, they're not understanding how each other are working, their brain or their behavior. They're not understanding what you're doing in some ways. So in some ways, this misalignment can eventually, in the long run, sort of really boggle down the relationship. So it's important that these individuals, with the square, really give each other time to sort of regroup, digest, and talk about the issues when they are in the right headspace, rather than sort of, speaking right in the moment and start yelling or X, Y, and Z. Yep. So they have to be really cautious about each other in that way, because they're not on the same page. So that's the square for you guys. In terms of the opposition, there are similar results here, but usually the oppositions are more of the opposite attract kind of thing. They are not really, how should I say? They see someone as someone with qualities that they're lacking, pretty much. Okay, it has this real ping pong effect where the sun person, the ego person, sees the moon person as someone that they can learn from, and the oppositions are always usually easier to handle, not handle, more, I guess handle is the right word, but more appreciated as well, whereas if two individuals are more mature, they're older, assuming they have enough life experience to work on themselves, to be more, patient in their perspectives and sort of understanding other people. The oppositions are more attractive in that way, and help actually the sun and the moon person grow from learning each other's qualities here. So I would actually prefer the opposition rather than the square. Last but not least, we have the inconjunct at 150 degrees, where uh, the two signs, the sun and the moon, really are they really can't see each other, meaning that it's like a blind spot usually with the inconjunct. So when the sun inconjuncts the moon, it really does create that emotional difficulty. And it'll be very challenging to sort of work with, because no matter how hard each individual sort of express themselves, it's not perceived in that way. Uh, Usually here with the sun and the moon, it's more about the moon's emotional domestic needs are not really being met with by the sun person's goals, who they are, their vitality. Okay, so it's very hard to help each other because there is no route to each other, if that makes sense. The best way to sort of look at it is they're really not in sync. The sun person's simply not in sync with the moon person's emotions. So a scenario would be, where the moon person doesn't get the sun person would be, they're really not listening in some cases, which could lead to sort of unrequited love. For example, let's say I'm the moon person and I could say something sort of along the lines of, no matter how much I explain how I was feeling, they never understood what I was all about. I just simply can't get through you in those sort of scenarios. And of course, this sort of aspect can definitely be exacerbated with other difficult emotional overlays, such as moon in partner's 12th house. So yeah, so usually the inconjunct, I would really, or most of these aspects, I will pay attention to really less than 5 degrees apart. 2 degrees or less, and you'll really be feeling that sort of misalignment. But yeah, anyways, that's my analysis, guys. And also, don't forget about the newsletter. Sign up, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.